Hello, welcome to the Citrus Garden. If you're new here, my name is Christina. This is a pick a card reading for this upcoming week. Whenever you find this video, the intention is that it will last for 1 week. So for these videos, the intention is to help you to connect with your guides and your spirituality a little bit more, to develop sort of your third eye vision, that kind of thing. And so for these readings, they are meant to be sort of events or signs and synchronicities that you can look for in order to develop your language with spirit. So for these readings, I let spirit pick the message, or pick the theme, I should say, and the question and like the thing to look for in the week ahead. And so I pulled cards. The overall theme is what I'm going to go through right now. And the first two cards that you have out here are the kindness and the dragon. So initially my first intuition is that there's somebody coming back is kind of how this is feeling, this kindness, because you have here also the god of time, which talks about wisdom and patience, which is how I'm seeing this dragon. Because, this is just my initial intuition. I haven't actually pulled the group cards yet, so I don't know what I feel like. For each group it'll be some sort of like some different scenario, so we'll let that kind of play out. But my initial intuition is that there may be somebody coming back with an open heart, is kind of how this is feeling, and that you are being asked to show kindness is how I'm seeing this, because I feel like whatever it is that has happened, right? Because it's so interesting, because this card, the fissures, the cracks, there's been some sort of crack or breaking apart, perhaps in some sort of relationship, perhaps, or it could be something else. We'll see in each group how that unfolds. But there has been a crack, and what this crack is actually allowing in is all of this unconditional love, which is really, really lovely. And I feel like, so the guidance for you, or like what it is that you'll be seeing upcoming, is that if there's been any sort of like separation or just cracks, right? Like something falling apart, I feel like there's going to be some sort of coming back together where you will be asked to show kindness, or perhaps somebody will be showing kindness to you in some way. We'll see how that unfolds in the group. And what's so interesting, the tarot cards to come out to clarify this, I usually only pull one, but these three wanted to come out together. So you have the Ace of Lotuses and the Five of Lotuses, which is all the water energy, which is talking about unconditional love, right? I feel like there's something here where perhaps it's kind of feeling like a tough love situation, right? Like if there's like issues in relationships, right? For example, unconditional love sometimes is how do I phrase this? It's like in an effort to show unconditional love, sometimes it means breaking apart some sort of structure that's not working, right? Like, so there could have been that moment in the past. What's interesting is that you have the crow here after, right? So it's like I feel like this is a past energy, because the god of time coming out here is telling me that like time has passed. Time has passed from this initial event where there was some sort of breakdown of structure. There was a significant change which turned you into the crow, right? It's like you, because this is the Magician card. But the crow to me always comes in as being sort of a guide to help you through difficulty. So there was difficulty. It was an overflow of love energies. I don't know what that means. I feel like it'll be clarified in each of the groups. But it's like, if there was a separation between you and another, if I feel like they're coming back with an open heart, right? And it's kind of like the guidance here for you is to show kindness. And I feel like that's going to be it's something that will feel very natural. Well, maybe not. Kindness isn't always natural, right? It takes effort to be kind to somebody. But what I feel here is that because your energy is feeling like the dragon, you can see perhaps how this, because the boat I see is sort of like a temporary structure, right? Like it's not a house. It's something like something that transitions us through the water, whatever that means. So a temporary structure was dismantled because that wasn't working, and it caused you to become the crow. Anyways, I don't want to over-explain this because I feel like that's just the overall theme. I'm gonna go into the groups now. So you can pick one group, or if you're feeling brave, you can watch the entire video and let sort of spirit surprise you. I feel like that's sort of how I viewed the video from last week, and I was definitely surprised. So I'm gonna pick the groups now. Here are the 3 groups. They are from 2 different decks. For some reason, I just was drawn to pull these specific cards from the readings. So I'm not going to pick them up because it does make the camera shake a little bit. So hopefully you can see them. Group 1 is the Discernment card. Group 2 is the Crow. And Group 3 is the Black Egg. I will also be including short titles for each of the groups to help you pick as well, which will be in the description box below. Hello, Group 1. If you picked the Discernment card, then this message is for you. It's a really, really interesting one because I love that the Discernment is coming out with this sort of dragon eye, right? This is emphasizing that this one's your energy. And I feel like for your situation, there's 3 individuals in your life that are very significant, is kind of how this is feeling. It could be more, right? It could be more, but I feel like you're being specifically asked to focus on there's 3 individuals, and it kind of feels like family members, but doesn't have to be like your actual family. It could just be like your friend group that are as close as family, right? Something like that. It's so you're reading, there's a lot coming in for your reading today. But you're coming in as the octopus. So this to me talks about somebody who's very highly sensitive, right? So it could be like you identify as an empath, or like you have the ability to sense energies, right? Like perhaps just very sensitive, especially with the octopus with the mind lit up. Perhaps you just have like very highly tuned sort of claircognizance or clairsentience kind of energies, right? Like that's basically what you are, is how I'm seeing this. And you're being asked to use this ability to perhaps assist certain ones in your environment. They're coming through with this energy: the deer, the lizard, and the lion, which again is 3, right? So there could be 3 separate individuals, is kind of how I'm seeing it, or 3 groups of people, or 3 kind of environments or aspects of your life, right? It could be something like your home life, your work life, your love life, or your friend life, or whatever it is for you. And I feel like they're going through some sort of third eye awakening, is kind of how this is feeling to me with the unicorn. They're clearing perhaps fog, because they're coming out with the boat, which is so interesting that this would come out like this, because as I was saying in the overall theme, right? The boat is being destroyed. So some sort of temporary measure that helps us sort of get through uncertainty, or like a transition period, or like, because it's coming through with water, there's a lot of perhaps emotional kind of turbulence that may be happening, right? There may be emotional turbulence that's happening, especially for this one, but it's in order to clear something, right? Clear something out. And I feel like for this group of people, they're coming through with because again, it's kindness, right? I feel like perhaps there's something that you can do in order to help them through whatever this transition is, because with the boat, and again with the full moon as well, or like the eclipse energy here and this, it's like they haven't trained this ability within themselves, because I believe that every person has the ability to open their third eye, right? Absolutely. And like connect with sort of spiritual or psychic, let's say, for lack of a better word, abilities within themselves, right? And so I feel like these ones, whoever they are going through this sort of awakening energy, or like a breakdown of like the third eye blockages, right? So it's something like that. It doesn't have to be that exactly. And this octopus here is really interesting because I often see this as being sort of like a friend, right? The friend, but has a lot of sort of like, it's very unique. It's kind of like a quirky energy, especially because it's coming out with authentic expression. There's some sort of quirkiness that you have. And I say that with like utmost affection, right? There's something very unique about you, the way in which you handle problems perhaps, or engage with people, or like your manner of speaking, how you think, that's very unique to you because that's what your specific gift is. And it's like you're being asked to use that in order to help these ones through whatever this transition is. So I'm going to go a little bit into their energy a little bit more, just to help you sort of identify what that situation is, because it's not, I don't know how you are going to be doing this. This is going to be up to you to decide how you're going to show kindness or whatever this is. But so the deer, I always see as sort of like a mother energy, right? Like a mothering or feminine energy. So it doesn't have to be your mother, but it could be like an energy that you consider to be more feminine, or that's how you engage with them, is kind of like a mother figure kind of thing, which is so interesting because the lion I see as being a father figure. So it's kind of like there's both. There's a very feminine energy, a very masculine energy. And then the lizard is kind of in between. But it's kind of like, the lizard I see as being kind of like an energy where there's not enough of water, right? Because it's in the desert. It's very sort of like patchy, right? That kind of thing. The fissures. That's so interesting. The fissures, right? Like the dry, cracked skin. And the dragon being sort of an evolution of the lizard. So there's somebody here. I'm going to actually go through each one of these individually, because the way that there's this interesting thing happening with these cards where it's kind of, there's 3 major arcana here. And it's kind of like each one of these is connected to one of these animals. And I'm going to just read it in the way that they're sort of lined up. So the deer is coming through with the past lives. So it could be, there's something here about there's something connecting the two of you, whoever you and this deer is, like that perhaps you share a past life, right? Like usually how this is, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but how I experience like the past lives and sort of the relationships that I have right now that are very significant, like my family members, I've like experienced the potential that like me and my significant relationships now, I was born into this family, let's say, let's phrase it like that. I was born into this family because I have significant soul ties with my family members from a past life, right? So there could be something like that where you and this person, whoever they are being brought together, or were brought together because you shared a past life, a significant past life energy. So it could be that they were like a mother in your past life or something like that. I don't know if that's true, or like, I don't know. Anyways, I'm just going to leave that there. So that's the connection between the two of you. And then with this lizard, they're coming through with the phoenix, which I love because, as I was saying, you're in this dragon position. Absolutely. And then with the lizard, it's kind of like, because the lizard I see is someone who doesn't have enough water, meaning that they're perhaps needing a little bit of love, is kind of how I'm seeing this, or a lot of love, let's say, in order to get them to go through transformation. Because where they are now is kind of in a position where they are not, like, they haven't reached their full potential yet, perhaps, right? And it's like, that's why this water is coming in, or has come in, because there's cracks here for them to fill. And it's like they're needing water. Perhaps that's what you're bringing into the situation for them, right? In order for them to go through this rebirth as the phoenix, which is so interesting. And then with this lion here, they're coming out with karma, which is really interesting. So this is a masculine energy. It could be that they're needing a rebalance, right? There's some sort of rebalancing. And again, because I feel like all of these people, because it feels like people or individuals, they're connected to you from a past life. Absolutely. So you may be connected to this one because you together are working through past life karma, whatever that means. You may be just getting like glimpses of that. With the discernment, right? I feel like, okay, so again, the first actual tarot card that came out to explain your story this week is the Three of Birds, which is connected to those three individuals, right? Each one of them are going through a heartbreak is kind of how this feeling. And it doesn't mean like heartbreak is such a broad range of things, right? It's some sort of pain. They're experiencing pain is what I'm seeing for this. Especially with the discernment card. Coming out with the octopus is that you may actually be feeling this. You may be feeling this because they're connected to you, but it's not yours is kind of what it's trying to emphasize. That you're feeling pain that's not yours, perhaps. Because their energy is all of this. It's like their energy is almost like spilling out of them. Their energy is like spilling out of them, and it's causing, like, you can feel it, if that makes sense. And so it is absolutely having consequences on your sort of well-being as well, which is why you're being asked to sort of show kindness to these ones, because it's kind of like they're going through a difficult energy. And the next two cards to come out were the Pathfinder and the Protector, which is what you're being asked to show, right? These are both fiery energies. The Pathfinder being it's self-explanatory, right? To show them the way out of this heartbreak, right? So it's kind of like perhaps you've done significant amount of healing. In order to get to the dragon stage, this is solar plexus energy. So willpower, right? You had some sort of willpower to find your way out of some sort of maze or difficult energy. And it's like you're being asked to show them the way out of this heartbreak energy, because it's affecting the energy of the space that you share together, right? So it's kind of like it's a trailblazer energy, right? And because it's coming out with the Protector as well, because it's kind of like, I feel like there may be a situation where there may be some sort of like, I'm not sure. This Protector card talks to me about like getting out ahead of it, right? So it's like if you can see or anticipate some sort of shift in the future, even if it's not like consciously, you're not sure what the shift or change is on some level, right? Because you have the octopus as your main energy. That's talking about like you're very sensitive. You can sense something. And it's like you're being asked to assist these ones to show them out of this difficult energy, because what's coming up ahead might be sort of more difficult is kind of how it's so, but you have the ability to do this for them. You have the ability to get out ahead of it, right? Almost to like block whatever this energy, the difficulty is, so that they can find their way out of the maze. Because this is both your energy and their energy. You've done this already. You've already done this sort of maze Pathfinder kind of thing. You've already found your way out of the maze. And it's like you're giving them space to get out of the maze by being sort of a protector. This is the King of Wands, which is really interesting. Okay, and then here next you have the Sacrifice card. Again, kindness is not an easy energy. To be kind to someone, especially if there's been a separation or a breakdown of whatever, communication or relationships, to be kind is very difficult. It takes a lot of energy. It is perhaps not a sacrifice, but it's like you have to reach your hand out, is kind of how this is feeling. You're being asked to reach your hand out to these ones and almost act as like, kind of like a protector, which will take sacrifice, of course, right? Like, because you're getting out ahead of it. It's almost like you're clearing the path. You're going out ahead to clear the path for whoever these ones are in your environment. And it's so interesting because the Dream World card came out. So this is the mystery sort of major arcana in this deck, which I absolutely love. So the Dream World to me talks about subconscious. There's some sort of like, perhaps like, or if it's not subconscious, some sort of like third eye connection, right? Or some sort of gift or ability or something that's unique to you that you're being asked to contribute into this dynamic. Whatever that means. I'm going to leave that sort of vague because I feel like that's going to be specific to like your gifts and your abilities, if that makes sense. Okay. And then the trees and the water are coming out as sort of the signs. So the trees to me represents family. Absolutely. Family, like your roots, where you come from. So if it is feeling very much like a family dynamic, but again, that could be like your chosen family, your found family, your friends, the ones that you're connected to, your network. And there's all of this water coming in. I'm just going to leave it like that because I don't know. Water is such a big thing. It could be like helping these ones to clear this subconscious or like dealing with their emotions, that kind of thing. It's so broad and vague, but those are the two signs that are coming in for you. This is a really long reading. I was supposed to keep this under 10 minutes, but anyways, so we're going to end it there. Group 1, I would love if at the end of this week you came back to this video, and if you're willing to share, tell me what the experience was and the signs and synchronicities that you saw, if this resonated with you. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I will see you in the next one. Hi, Group 2. If you picked the Crow as your card, then this reading is for you. So I feel like your reading, so you're absolutely the Crow in this case, right? It's just further emphasizing this overall theme. So for you, for this group, if this one feels like the most like there has been a clear separation between you and another person, that's what this is talking about. And I feel like you've been sort of, or if it's not a clear separation, it kind of feels like whoever this relationship is with, whoever this dynamic is with, they're not within your inner circle is kind of how I'm seeing this, because you have here the 6 of Trees, which talks to me about like the separation between like work life and home life, right? So it's kind of like, I feel like this relationship is somebody that you know from work, or is just like not in your immediate environment. They're not like you're in your friend group. They're not in your family. It's kind of like they're outside of that in some way. Like it could be like an acquaintance or somebody that you don't know well. And it's like whatever it is that they're going through is pulling on your energy is kind of how this is feeling. And it's kind of like, because what they're going through is the eagle and the phoenix, right? And their energy is coming through with the god of fires. So all of this fiery energy, I feel like they're going through a massive transformation. And that's why your energy or your focus is sort of being pulled in by them, because they're going through with the god of fires, right? There's a lot of change happening in their energy. It feels like kind of like, though I feel like it won't be obvious. It doesn't feel like it's an obvious thing, right? Like some people, when they go through transfer, like it's very clear. You can tell that they're going through like a tough time perhaps, right? For this one, I feel like it's very subtle. It kind of feels like it's very, because the transformation, whatever it is they're going through, is coming through with the 5 of Embers. So this one I see as being sort of like a controlled burn, right? Like, you know how in like highly forested areas in the summertime, they'll like strategically burn certain parts of the forest to prevent like a massive forest fire. So it's kind of like somehow they're doing this. They're controlling the amount of transformation that they go through at a certain time, right? For their sake. So it's kind of like little by little, it's like a slow burn. It's a slow burn transformation. So instead of going through like a huge rebirth cycle, they're going through many little rebirth cycles is kind of how this is feeling. And so I feel like that might be what's drawing your attention. It's like, it's not a huge thing. It's not a huge transformation. It's many little ones. I have no idea what that means, but what's being asked of you to show kindness in this situation, because of course you're the crow here, right? One who has wisdom, absolutely, because you have some sort of wisdom to share, because the card I was actually going to choose this card to keep it within the same decks of like which card would be your pick a card pile, but it didn't feel right. I had to restart. The crow was the one that was calling for you. But this is talking to me about sharing wisdom, right? Especially because you have here the God of Time as the overall theme. And the triangles to me represent knowledge, right? Ancient knowledge or wisdom or understanding, that kind of thing. And it kind of looks like an hourglass. So this group I haven't done group 3 yet, but this one feels the most like a relationship that ended because of difficulty, right? So it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It could be any sort of relationship. It could be friendship or whatever it is. And it's kind of like, because you do have the forgiveness card that was at the bottom of the deck. So I feel like for you, because enough time has passed within this dynamic, that you've gained some sort of wisdom. And it's kind of just like, because this crow is feeling very much like, almost like watching at a distance, whatever it is they're going through with the clarity. Because I feel like it's not saying necessarily to engage necessarily like directly with this one, right? Because it does feel like there's still separation between the two of you on some level. And it feels like whatever, especially because of this eagle, it feels like their back is turned to you, or that they're not wanting you to see the difficulty that they may be going through. There's some sort of like they're not facing your direction. Perhaps they don't want help. That could be one thing too. Or they're not sure how to, it's something that they want to keep to themselves, if that makes sense, right? They're trying to handle the problem individually on their own, which is absolutely fine. And it's kind of like, I feel like perhaps the only thing that you can do or being asked to do is kind of just like witness and pay attention to the things that are going on. Because what's interesting here with these cards, so where did that 3 of Embers go? Okay, so the 3 of Embers, okay, not yet. You're coming out here with the 8 of Lotuses and the Composer. So what this is talking to me about, the 8 of Lotuses, first of all, there may be Scorpio energy within this dynamic, whether you have Scorpio or they have Scorpio somewhere in this chart, or in their chart, because of the whole rebirth, but also because the whale to me symbolizes very Scorpio energy, because it's a deep diving kind of energy, right? But what I'm seeing with this is that because they have all of this sort of like controlled burn fire energy, it's kind of like with the Composer, there's a specific sort of timing, or like it's almost like spirits like directing you to come in at a certain time, right? May not be now, but that's why like paying attention is really important. Almost to like for you to come up out of the water and like splash a wave on the fire to put it out, if that makes sense. So of course that's all metaphoric. So it could just be like saying a kind word, or just like, and it may not be somebody that you know, right? That's why it's kind of like you don't know exactly what it is that they're going through, but on some level you can sense this, right? The 3 of Embers, that they're going through something difficult. It's this energy, even though it's not obvious on the surface, is pulling your attention, and it's like when you sense this sort of like nudge, that's spirit telling you, okay, now the wave, bring in the wave, right? Like it could be as simple as like giving a compliment to like somebody in a grocery store, right? That puts out some fire that they've been going through that's not obvious on the surface. I hope that makes sense, right? Sharing emotional energy in some way. With the one card, sharing emotional energy, because you can sense on some level, even if it's not like consciously, it's a very intuition based, like that person needs a smile, or that person needs a compliment, or whatever it is. They need something. They need water. They need something to put out the fire. Because what's so interesting here, you have the 10 of Embers, which this is the Embers theme. The Embers, the fire element in this deck is so fascinating, because the 9 of Embers, which did not come out in your spread today, is a volcano. So this is talking about once the volcano's sort of done, this is like sort of the ash, which is so interesting because you have the phoenix, right? The ash after the phoenix. This is the rebirth energy. So it's kind of like you're coming in to douse a small fire, which is going to turn the fire into ash, which allows them to be reborn in some way. Again, very small scale, it kind of feels like, right? Well, I'm hesitant to say that it's small, right? Because sometimes a smile can, something very small, like a smile or a compliment, or just being kind to some stranger that you've never met, can have very big consequences down the line, right? It's like, I feel like you don't know that though. You're not necessarily going to see the consequences of this because, well, maybe further down the line you will, but because it's this, and it's so interesting because they have this 5 of Embers, right? A controlled burn, whatever that means. And then here you have the 7 of Trees and the Shapeshifter, because I love the Shapeshifter, because they're going through a massive transformation, but on like a massive transformation that's happening like one after another almost. I have no idea how long they've been in this energy for, but I pulled some other cards from other decks to clarify, and what they are coming out with is 10, 9, and 8 of Swords, right? 10, 9, and 8 of Swords. Very difficult transition, and it feels like they're steadily working towards it, and when you come in to sort of give them that, like, just a wave of emotion, whatever that means, a wave of water, right? Just something kind and given freely, it puts them in the 2 of Swords. So it's kind of just like, still swords, but it's kind of less difficult. It's easier. This 2 of Swords is easier. It helps them perhaps get to, because it's like they're counting down. It's the countdown energy for me is just being like getting closer to home or getting closer to the goal or whatever it is, right? They're counting down. They're getting closer. And it's like, for you, giving like a small gesture, right? Like a small act of kindness is having a really big effect of almost like jumping to the 2 of Swords, because the way that they're doing it is doing very slow, very controlled actions that go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. But for you, when you come in with this sort of wave of temperance, they go directly from the 8 to the 2, right? The 6 of Swords is what's in between. They go to calmer waters immediately, is kind of how this is feeling. That's a really gorgeous energy. It feels very much like a stranger, or if it's not a stranger, just like somebody in your workplace who you don't have a close relationship with, is kind of how it's feeling. They're not in your immediate and inner circle kind of energies, is what this is feeling like. But it helps them to, because I feel like here with the 7 of Trees, because this is more sort of like workplace or community based, because it looks like a farmer's market to me. So it's kind of like, I feel like they have a lot to contribute, actually. Or it's just emphasizing that it's like people in your community that you don't know very well but are part of your community, right? Like your neighbors, people that you would see at a farmer's market, something like that. That's so interesting. I have no idea what who this is for you. For me, it feels just more like it might even be a passing sort of relationship, meaning like I don't think that you are necessarily going to become best friends with these ones. Like it just might be like people that you see, just acquaintances, right? That's really interesting. Okay, and then for the signs for this group, you have stones and animals, which is so interesting because so far all of the signs have been the green nature element. So it's really talking about your physical environment for this theme today. It's like your physical environment, the relationships, or they all feel like relationships so far. We'll see what happens in group 3, but the relationships in your physical environment, the ones that are around you, your family, your community. So stones and animals might be an interesting sort of synchronicity to kind of confirm who these people are for you. I'm not so much getting that, like the stones for me is just emphasizing that maybe like work relationships. The animals could be significant soulmates. They could potentially become closer relationships. I don't know. I can't like see that far into what this energy will be, but it's interesting here with the shapeshifter, right? I feel like there's something here about like the ones, because again, they're going through a rebirth, right? They're going through a rebirth, but it's kind of like they're still trying to figure out who they are, is kind of how this is feeling with the shapeshifter. Still trying to figure out who they are, or perhaps a clear purpose, or something like that. That may be something that they're going through. But again, it doesn't feel like it's obvious on the surface. So it's kind of like you have to use your intuition in order to like really tune into like what your guides are trying to tell you about this person and what it is that you're being guided to say or to do or whatever it is. Okay, group 2, I'm going to end it there. I would love if at the end of this week you came back to this video and left a comment for me about what this event was for you, if it resonated, if you saw some of the signs and synchronicities that I've been talking about. But that's totally up to you. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I will see you in the next one. Hi, group 3. If you picked the black egg as your card, then this is your reading. Group 3 so far, I mean, I've only done 2 pick a card readings, but so far the group 3s have been the most interesting and complex. I feel like I'm going to have to start switching around the order that I'm recording it for the next one. But anyways, so the black egg, this is your energy, group 3, which is talking about, like, I always talk about this card as like holding on to a truth very, very strongly in order to like create something is kind of how it's feeling today. But it attracts things that are the same, repels things that are not. What's interesting here is that you have, it's actually feeling kind of like a difficult energy, because as I was saying, the overall theme is that there's going to be kindness, right? There's some sort of act of kindness. I feel like for this group, you're on the receiving end of the kindness, because you have here the friction and the inner balance card. So I feel like with the friction, it feels like you've been in an energy of especially because this is the egg compared to the dragon, right? It's like there's some aspect of your life where you're trying to crack open this egg, is kind of how it's feeling. You're trying to hold a vibration for long enough that it cracks open, right? Something is born out of this egg, is kind of how this is feeling. And it feels like right now you're in this place of the friction, right? Experiencing perhaps resistance, or if not resistance, just like difficulty, and having to maintain an inner balance, right? That's what this, especially with the black egg, holding steady is kind of how I'm seeing this, your energy. And it feels like what's going to happen this week for you is some sort of act of kindness from this one, whoever this is. the beaver and the hawk. So for this group, it may be for like one or two of you, or like a couple of you, I don't know, or maybe for all of you, I have no idea. It feels kind of like this energy is like a spirit, or like somebody from the past, somebody who's transitioned, with the friction card, because this kind of looks like a ghostly energy to me, right? And it's kind of like, it's like the kindness being offered is from somebody who's passed, right? Especially because you have here the orbs. The orbs talk about like spirits that are lending you strength is kind of how this is feeling. It feels like you are receiving a gift of kindness from someone or some ones, like multiple spirits or orbs on the other side, right? Like that have already passed. They're coming in to help support you, especially with this hawk. The hawk today, I rarely see it like this, but for some reason today it was feeling like a messenger from the other side, right? Somebody that you care about and who like perhaps family members or ancestors or something like that with the beaver, who provided emotional support for you, right? That's kind of how this is feeling, especially because you have here the portal. Oh my gosh. Okay, the portal for the lilies, which of course lilies are flowers representing like death, right? And you have the death card. In this deck, the death card is the Fool, right? It's the beginning. So, but because of all of this symbolism today, it's feeling like very much you're receiving kindness from somebody in spirit is kind of how this is feeling. Or you may be just encountering their presence through others, right? You may be feeling their presence through actual people in your life or in your environment. The point is, wherever this energy is coming from, you are on the receiving end of kindness if you picked this group. Because it's kind of like... It's kind of like I feel like you've been trying to grow something, especially with the black egg. There's something that you're trying to manifest with this card that you're perhaps struggling with, because you have here the Mountain, which is so interesting, and the Forgotten, which are both very difficult cards. So what these two cards are saying, that like the Mountain talks about like a big endeavor, something that you're trying to, some sort of challenge, perhaps an obstacle that you're trying to overcome or that you're trying to work towards. And with the Forgotten, it just feels like it's been a long time, or you've been stuck here for a while, or whatever it is. It's almost like you've lost strength, right? Like you're tired. And so this energy is coming in to lift you and uplift you. Because what's so interesting is you have here the Nine of Emperors. So I've been talking about this card so much. I've been alluding to it in many different readings since I've been using this deck, and it finally came out. But it's like, it's this mountain, right? It's this mountain, but all of a sudden, the dormancy, the forgotten energy is coming to life, is kind of how this is feeling. So even though it's a volcano, I feel like it's a very positive energy to break open this egg. Whatever it is that you've been trying to manifest, it's breaking open. This energy is coming in to help you to break this obstacle open, to allow energy to flow, because right now it's not, is kind of how it's feeling. Or if it's not that it's not flowing, but it's small, right? It's because it was coming out the Two of Embers, which I feel like is where you are right now. It's kind of like the Two of Embers compared to the Nine. So there's it's a start. It's a bonfire. Like you have a fire, but it's not this. And I feel like there's an energy coming in to help you with this aspect. It's like to get the actual fire roaring is kind of how this is feeling, which is so interesting. And I feel like it's kind of talking about, because you have here this card, the Ten of Trees and the Bridge. So the bridge is the moon, but it's more so emphasizing, I feel like this is actually like spirit coming in, like perhaps a specific individual that you knew in the past, but because they're coming in with the 10 of trees, it feels like they've established some aspect of like what it is that you're trying to grow, right? When they were on this earth plane, right? When they were here, they perhaps left a legacy or something like that. They left something. This is their structure. They built this when they were here. And it's like they're appearing to you, perhaps in dreams. So you have the dreams card, right? You have this card here. Perhaps they're appearing to you in a dream to almost like give you inspiration or something like that in order to create what it is that you've been trying to create. Is kind of how this is feeling. It's so interesting. Your synchronicity cards, you have the elixirs and Jupiter coming out with the dreams as well. So when this elixirs card came out, it's a really interesting message because, again, I grew up with Harry Potter, so all of that symbolism is in my subconscious just permanently now. And so the elixirs card was talking to me about a specific potion called Felix Felicis, especially with the Jupiter, where it's like when you drink that potion, everything that you do becomes successful. You just have ton of good luck is kind of how this is feeling, right? Like so it's like you would, again, that sort of potion was illegal in that magical world for like sports competitions and all that, right? Because it would allow you to win at everything. It's a good luck potion. Because you're still the one doing all the actions, but it's almost like this spirit or this energy is coming in to help you so that everything that you do in order to like whatever it is going to be successful is kind of how this is feeling, especially with the Jupiter, because that's talking about like good luck, wheel of fortune, opportunities, that kind of thing. I feel like there's going to be a lot of that for you, but there is a caution here of like, especially with any sort of like potion or elixir or like a shortcut kind of like get rich quick kind of energy that doesn't, it's very short. It's not a long-term solution is what I'm trying to say. That you can become dependent on this energy, which is not something that you want. My dog is barking just in confirmation of that. It's just saying that this is going to be a very short-term kind of boost, but that you still have to do the work in order to get here. This is just helping some sort of energy to be unblocked is kind of how this is feeling for you. But it's kind of like once that is done, like, because it kind of feels like you're going to have a really short-term or very quick kind of like good luck where everything you do just works. But it's like, it's trying to remind you like that's a temporary energy. It's not always going to be like that. Perhaps just for like this week, it might feel like that you're just having all of this good luck, all of this sort of positive energy, all of this thing growing, but that not to become too dependent on that energy because it's coming from like spirit, right? It's coming from the universe. It's coming from perhaps a significant specific person that is trying to help you to manifest your goals or whatever it is, which is so interesting because they're coming through the Knight of Cups, right? Like Knight of Cups, somebody who cares about you, the Ace of Swords, and the Hermit, which is you, which is kind of like, oh, my ear started ringing. You've been in this state for a while. It's been something to do with perhaps growing wealth, right? Because of the 10 of Trees coming out. Perhaps growing wealth, but it doesn't have to be that. Whatever energy it is that you're trying to... Perhaps it's just like giving you a taste of what success is kind of how this is feeling. Because it's kind of hard to be like... If you're trying to do something that you haven't done before, for example, it doesn't have to be success, but you're trying to be in an energy that you haven't experienced before. So it kind of could be difficult to put yourself in that state in order to manifest it more easily. So what this is bringing in is like giving you a taste of what that energy is. So it's easier for you to manifest that, if that makes sense. But again, it's just a taste. You cannot become dependent on this energy is what's coming through. Okay, and then you have the Magician and the Queen of Wands, right? So it's giving you the ability to create with more fire, if that makes sense. More fire, more purpose, or more direction. But it's like you are attracting this energy. So it's like it's giving you a taste of what this, what it is that you're trying to manifest, so that it would become easier for you to do it on your own, is kind of how this is feeling. Again, I'm wanting to say that just be aware that you, not to become dependent on this type of like shortcut kind of energy, right? And I feel like you won't, but it's kind of just saying that you may have like a big rush or a big burst of energy that comes in to help you, but that it might leave, or it might slow down after that. It's kind of how I'm seeing this. It's going to be a big rush, but it'll slow down, and not to get discouraged by that slowdown. Is what I'm saying. After sort of the big rush happens, it's going to peter out, but that's normal. That's expected, right? It's not anything that like is wrong with the situation, if that makes sense. It's like you don't want a volcano that's always erupting. You want one big burst that's going to bring in some new energy, and then it's going to cool down, if that makes sense. And not to get discouraged by that, if that makes sense. I hope that's clear. Anyways, so this was a really interesting reading. Group three is the one that's always kind of surprising, is kind of how I'm seeing it. We'll see if that pattern lasts for the next one, though. I don't know. We'll see. So I'm going to end it there. I would love if at the end of this week you came back to this video and left a comment about what it is that happened for you, if this resonated, what signs you saw, what the event was, if there was one. But I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing your energy with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.